Hello and welcome you all in the class of zoology. Today I explain you about the structure of human heart. As we are already known that the heart is the pumping organ in case of the animals, which is having the ability to supply the blood to the different parts of the body. Okay, so the heart is the very important organs in case of the body of animals. Now here we will focus on to the heart of the human beings. Okay, now the heart, they are present in the thoracic cage. Okay, now heart is completely muscular organs which is present in the thoracic region of the body in case of the human beings. Human heart is a conical hollow organ located behind the sternum in the thoracic cavity. Okay, so in case of the human being, heart become reddish, conical in shape, hollow organs. They are present behind the sternum, the thoracic cavity, and they are act as a important pumping organ in case of the human beings. Okay, now heart is protected by a double layer membranous sacs that is called as the pericardium. Okay, now heart is protected by the double layer membranous structure that is known as the pericardium. Okay, now the external pericardial membrane and internal pericardial membrane, and in between these there is a having the space which is filled with the pericardial fluids, and these pericardial fluids having the ability to absorb the mechanical shocks. Okay, so these pericardium provide the cavity to the heart in case of the human beings. Now in between the pericardial membrane is the pericardial space, and this pericardial space get filled with the help of the pericardial fluid. The heart of the human beings become the completely four chambered. Okay, completely four chambered heart, they are occurred in case of the human beings or in case of the mammals. Okay, there is a completely that is the differentiated four chambered heart, two auricles and two ventricles. Two auricles and two ventricles, they are present in case of the human being heart. There is a right atrium. Okay, then there is a left atrium. Now the right and left atrium get separated from each other with the help of the interatrial walls or interventrial space. Okay, then here there is having the ventricular septum, which is having the ability to differentiate right and left ventricles. Now the auricles and ventricle get separated from each other with the help of the auriculoventricular septum. Now the auricles are the upper chambers while the ventricles are the lower chambers. They are occurred in case of the heart of human beings. The auricles are thin walled and are separated by the interauricular septum. Okay, the auricles in case of the human beings, they are thin walled and separated by the interauricular septum, and ventricles are thick walled which is separated by the interventricular septum. Interauricular septum, okay, and interventricular septum having the ability to separate auricles and the ventricles respectively in case of the heart of human beings. Okay, auricular septum separate the right and left auricles, then interventricular septum separate the right and left ventricles. So the right auricles receive the impure blood from different body parts through two large veins, superior and inferior vena cava. Superior and inferior vena cava collect the blood from the different parts of the body and opens into the right auricles of heart in case of the human beings. The left auricles receives the pure blood from the lungs by pulmonary veins. Right auricles receive the impure blood by the two large veins. They are nothing but the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Then the left auricles receive pure blood. The right auricle receives the impure blood by the two large veins, that is the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, and the left auricle receives the pure blood from the lungs by pulmonary veins. Okay, here in this diagrammatic presentation we clearly understood that how the auricles and right auricles and left auricle receive the blood. Okay, now here is the right auricles, here is the left auricles. Okay, right and left auricles are separated from each other with the help of the interauricular septum. Right auricle receives the impure blood from the different parts of the body with the help of two major veins. From the anteriorly it received the blood with the help of the superior vena cava, and from the posterior most end of the body it received the blood with the help of the inferior vena cava, and they get opens into the right auricle. They get opens into the right auricles. Okay, now the openings which is present in the auricles, they are known as the, that is the auriculo, that is here the superior and inferior veins opens into the right auricles, and the left auricle receives the pure blood, that is the oxygenated blood from the lungs with the help of the pulmonary veins. With the help of the pulmonary veins. Okay, now the two auricles, they are separated from each other with the help of the auriculoventricular septum, and the two ventricles, they are separated from each other with the help of the interventricular septum, and two, that is the auricles and ventricles, are separated from each other with the help of the auriculoventricular septum. Auriculoventricular septum, which is present at the junctions of the auricles and ventricles. Okay, now from the left ventricles arises main blood vessels known as the aorta. That is the dorsal aorta. Here there is a three main veins. They are arises from the ventricles, from the left ventricle arises a main blood vessel known as the aorta, which carries pure blood to various body parts. Okay, that is the dorsal aorta supplies pure blood to the different parts of the bodies. Okay, then the opening of the pulmonary artery and aorta are guarded by the semilunar walls. Okay, now the opening of the pulmonary artery and aorta are guarded by the semilunar walls. Okay, now here in this region we clearly observed that, okay, now pulmonary aorta, that is pulmonary artery, transport the blood toward the lungs with the help of pulmonary artery for the oxygenation, and pulmonary veins receive the oxygenated blood and opens into the ventricles, opens into the left auricles, opens into the left atrium or the auricles. Okay, then right auricles receive the deoxygenated blood or the impure bloods. Okay, now the opening of the pulmonary artery and the aorta, they are guarded by the that is semilunar walls. Okay, aorta and the pulmonary artery, they are guarded by the semilunar walls which is present here. Okay. Now the semilunar walls prevent the backward flow of blood from the pulmonary aorta and artery to their respective ventricles. Semilunar walls prevent the backward flow of the blood from the pulmonary aorta and artery to their respective ventricles, that is the right and left ventricles. The right auricles, the right auricular ventricle wall is known as the tricuspid walls. Right auricular ventricular wall is known as the tricuspid walls, and the left auricular wall, auriculoventricular wall, is known as the bicuspid wall. Here is the tricuspid walls which is present here at the openings of the auricles into the ventricles. These walls are known as the tricuspid walls, and at the junctions of the left atrium and left ventricle, the opening, they get guarded by the bicuspid walls. Okay, now here in this diagram, the right auricles, in between the right auricles and right ventricle, there is a having the walls, they are known as the tricuspid walls. Then at the junctions of the left atrium and the left ventricle, there is having the bicuspid walls. Then here at the junctions of the right ventricle, that is from the right ventricle, there is arising the pulmonary aorta, that is the truncus arteriosus, and they transport the blood toward the lungs with the help of the pulmonary artery. Okay, they get guarded by the pulmonary walls. Here there is how many types of the walls? Tricuspid walls, then bicuspid walls, and pulmonary walls. Tricuspid walls, they are present at the junctions of the right auricles and the right ventricle. Then bicuspid walls, they are present at the junctions of the left auricles and left ventricles. Then the blood from the right auricles enter into the pulmonary pulmonary arteries. There is the two branches of the pulmonary artery, right and left branch. They get guarded by the pulmonary walls. Okay, that is, here there is a transportation of the blood toward the lungs with the help of the pulmonary artery. Then the opening of these get guarded by the pulmonary walls, and these pulmonary walls, tricuspid walls and bicuspid walls, having the ability to inhibit the backward movement of the blood. Okay, so blood from the right auricles enter into the right ventricles through the tricuspid walls. Then blood from the right ventricle enter into the pulmonary aorta. Okay, and they get guarded by the pulmonary walls. And from the blood, they are transported towards the lungs with the help of pulmonary artery for the oxygenation. Okay, then the pulmonary veins receive the oxygenated blood and opens into the left atrium. Okay, and from the left atrium, the blood, they are entered into the left ventricles with the help of the aperture, that is auriculoventricular aperture. That is the left auriculoventricular aperture. Left auriculoventricular aperture get guarded by the bicuspid walls, and right auriculoventricular aperture are guarded by the tricuspid walls. Okay, so that from the left auricles, that is the left auricle receives the oxygenated blood, and from the left auricle the blood entered into the left ventricles with the help of the left auriculoventricular aperture, which is guarded by the bicuspid walls. And here the blood from the left ventricle, they are entered into the aortic arches. Okay, that is the blood from the left ventricles, blood entered into the dorsal aorta, and they get guarded by the walls. They are known as the aortic walls. Okay, and here the blood goes toward the dorsal aorta, and they supply blood. What type of the blood? Oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. Okay, all of you got it? Now we are already known that the right auriculoventricular aperture, they are guarded by the tricuspid walls, and left auriculoventricular apertures get guarded by the bicuspid walls. Okay, now the semilunar walls prevent the backward flow of the blood from the pulmonary aorta and artery to their respective ventricles. The right auricular ventricular wall is known as the tricuspid wall, and the left auricular wall is known as the bicuspid wall. This type of the walls which is present at the junctions of the right and left auricles, they are having the specialized type of the walls, tricuspid walls, and here is the bicuspid walls. And here there is having the aortic walls. Then there is also having the pulmonary walls. This type of the walls are present in the heart of the human beings, and these walls having the ability to inhibit the backward movement of the blood, backward flow of the blood in case of the human beings. Now structure of the human heart reveals us that the heart is completely divided, four chambered heart. Completely divided, four chambered heart. They are nothing but the two auricles. Two auricles are nothing but the right auricles and the left auricle. They are also known as the atrium. They are also known as the atrium. Okay. Then there is also having the two ventricles, right ventricles and left ventricles. Right ventricles and left ventricles. Okay. Then the right auricle receives the impure blood with the help of two major veins. They are known as the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava collect the blood from the anterior most part of the body, whereas the inferior vena cava collect the blood from the posterior most end of the body, and they are opens into the right auricles with the help of the semilunar walls. With the help of the semilunar walls. Okay. Now here there is a from the right pulmonary arteries and left pulmonary artery transport the impure blood toward the lungs for the oxygenations, so that is here blood from the right ventricles entered into the pulmonary arteries with the help of the ventricular pulmonary walls. Okay, that is there is arising the two branch, left and right branch. They goes toward the left and right lungs, where there is a oxygenation of the blood is takes place. Now here is the right branch, right pulmonary artery, and here is the left pulmonary artery, which transport the blood from right ventricles to the lungs, where there is a oxygenation of the blood is takes place, where there is a oxygenation of the blood is takes place in case of the heart of human beings. Then left auricle receives the pure blood with the help of the pulmonary veins. Left atrium received the blood from the lungs with the help of the two pulmonary veins. Okay, that is these pulmonary receive the oxygenated blood and opens into the left atrium. Okay, into the left atrium, and from the left atrium blood enters into the left ventricles with the help of the opening that is known as the left auriculoventricular aperture, and these aperture they are guarded by the bicuspid walls. They are also known as the mitral walls. So the blood entered into the left ventricles, and from the left ventricles the bloods enter into the dorsal aorta with the help of the aperture, and these apertures get guarded by the aortic walls, and these aortic walls also prevent the backward movement of the blood from the dorsal aorta to the left ventricles. Okay, so that these walls having the ability to inhibit the backward movement of the blood. So from the left ventricle blood enters into the dorsal aorta, and from the dorsal aorta the pure blood they are transported to the different parts of the body. Okay, so this is the diagrammatic presentation of the structure of heart in case of the human beings. Now, structure of heart in case of the human being reveals us that the heart is hollow, conical organ situated in the middle of the thoracic cavity, that is the chest. Slightly toward the left side, it is made up of the cardiac muscle. The heart of the animals having the specialized type of the muscles, that is known as the cardiac muscles, and these cardiac muscles having the specialized protein, okay, which provide the continuous energy. Okay, it is narrow, apex is directed downwards and the broad base directed upwards. It is protected by the rib cage and vertebral column. It is about 12 centimeter in length and 9 centimeter in breadth in case of the human being. It consists of the 4 chambers, that is the 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. Okay, then the heart, they are covered by the pericardial membrane, double layer pericardial membrane. Outer pericardial membrane and the inner pericardial membrane, and in between these two membranes there is having the space. Okay, and this space get filled with the help of the pericardial fluids, and these pericardial fluids having the ability to reabsorb the mechanical shocks, so it protect the heart from the mechanical injury. So the space between the inner and outer layer is called as the pericardial space. It is filled with the fluid called as the pericardial fluid. Pericardium and the pericardial fluid protect the heart from the physical shocks and the blows. Okay, so here is the diagrammatic presentation of the heart in case of human beings. Okay, the heart of the human beings becomes 4 chambers, 2 auricles and 2 ventricles. 2 auricles get separated from each other with the help of the interauricular septum, and 2 ventricles get separated from each other with the help of the interventricular septums. Okay, then auricles and ventricles, they are separated from each other with the help of the, that is the auriculoventricular septum, auriculoventricular septums. Okay, auriculoventricular septums, and we are already known that the right auricles and the left auricle receive the blood. Okay, right auricle receive the impure blood from the anterior and posterior most part of the body with the help of the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, and the left ventricle receive the oxygenated blood or the pure blood with the help of the left pulmonary vents, and they get opens into the left ventricles. Then the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, they get opens into the right auricles with the help of the auriculoventricular, that is semilunar valves, with the help of the semilunar valves, and for the blood from the auricles, that is right auricles, enter into the right ventricles with the help of the auriculoventricular aperture, and this auriculoventricular aperture guarded by the specialized type of the valves, that is known as the tricuspid valves, which is present here. Okay, then the blood from the right auricles entered into the right ventricles, and from the right ventricle the blood, they are entered into the pulmonary arteries, left and right pulmonary arteries. Okay, so here the left and right pulmonary artery, they transport the impure blood toward the lungs for the oxygenation, and left auricle received the oxygenated blood or the pure blood with the help of the pulmonary veins. Okay, and from the left auricle the blood enter into the left ventricles with the help of the auriculoventricular aperture, and this aperture get guarded by the bicuspid valve, and from this the blood, they are entered into the aorta. Okay, that is the dorsal aorta. Okay, and the dorsal aorta having the right and left branch. Okay, and provide the blood to the oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body. So superior, that is a vena cava or the caval veins, very large veins that bring blood to the heart are called as the vena cava. Aortae are the very large arteries that carry the blood away from the heart are called the aortae. Superior vena cava, it collects the deoxygenated blood from the uppermost part of the body, and inferior vena cava, they collect the blood from the posterior most end of the body. Okay. Then pulmonary veins which bring the oxygenated